Hello guys, welcome back to another reaction video here on Our Eyes Your Eyes. I'm ready to watch episode 10 of Baraou no Souretsu, but before starting this video I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell, leave a like to support me and join me in this great adventure. Okay, in the previous episode we discovered that George preferred to stay on Richard and Edward's side. Let's see what's going to happen now. Are you ready to join me with this? Check it out. She is not enthusiastic at all. Believe it. Yeah, usually men, they act like this. They like people, they like women who avoid them. Once again, yeah. This is good. He never had a friend, actually. I don't think that's the end. There are so many other years coming. Who's that? Let's see. Oh! Hey, wait and see. This is what you don't know. Nah. You don't know that he was cheating you. Whoa! Warwick! Oh. Oh yeah. Oh. So what do we say now? Yeah. Oh. But actually, one is the traitor of the other one, and vice versa. So. Oh. Oh. Harry, where are you? Exactly, because he's too genuine, so... Oh, but don't tell me that he's going to die today, eh? Yeah, but Harry, please don't die in front of Richard, because it's the last thing that is going to turn him or her into a demon, eh? Wow. Oh! They have planned everything. Wow, so he's taking care of all these to protect George and his fate, huh? I have a bad feeling. I don't know why, but I think things are getting worse now. Oh, yeah, because now they are tricked because she's having the. Oh! Yeah, Richard is a pretty strategical. I mean, she has lots of plans in her mind. Yeah. Warwick, you lost this time. And once again, heaven, eh? Yeah. Don't tell me that he thinks that is. Yes! I was thinking about Richard's dad, yeah. No, he would have never agreed with you. And. Wow! Oh! Yeah, but be careful, huh? What does this mean? I mean, even if you told to him, that doesn't mean that he can't develop by himself from now on. Oh! 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 Yeah, actually, he followed what he said, but later. Later you preferred your own interests, as always. Oh! Well, look at the desperation of Warwick in this episode is something incredible. Here we go. Look, I was expecting that after the end of this sentence he was going to collapse. Is that Richard who did that? Ah! Oh, Buckingham! But they were supposed to. No, they were supposed to leave him alive. No! Now maybe he's going to say it was Richard, but of course that was not Richard, it was Buckingham, yo. Wow, what a sad ending for him. He had everything, and sooner after he had nothing. That's a Richard's dad. Wow, he was so kakkoi. Yeah. What? Wait. What? What? So even Richard's dad was called Richard. I forgot about this. What a strange coincidence. I mean, Richard's dad called Richard Richard based on his name. Oh, but that was Buckingham, yo. And now that Richard has said that everyone had to call Richard Buckingham, that's a problem. Huh? That was a bad omen. In fact, your father is dead. Believe it. No, and you don't know him so well. Exactly. In fact, be ready because it will change a lot. Also, because she was forced by her dad to do what she's doing. Oh, Edward. And this is worse because then she will confront Richard anyway, so. Harry. But who was going to chase these men? No, no, he is actually. uh, and in fact, he suffered a lot. Yeah, just because you don't see him suffering, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen to him. Yeah. War that is making you become blind at a certain point. Yeah, exactly. That's because war is disgusting. Oh, no, no. Yeah, you heard it well. Jeanne d'Arc. Oh, this is making her become so confused. Oh, come on. No! Oh! But don't tell me that she's really going to kill Harry. At this point, yeah. Oh no, I think the next episode will be so painful. No, it's not your fault, okay? The real fault is War's fault. Well, what the? Yeah, she wants to reach Harry not to kill him at this point. You're my... You're my... Maybe you're my enemy. No, don't tell me, look. No! I mean, I understand him, but no. Oh! Oh, be careful! Oh no, no! That's the problem. She didn't know that that was the king, yo. Yeah. Oh my! I am the king. The F! What the simple F? Wow, another super amazing episode, in my opinion. But let's go step by step. First of all, we saw the end of Warwick. Look, I have never expected that he was ending his life so easily like this. I mean, that today we were going to watch his death. In this episode, you saw this character passing from having everything, from having lots of power, to having nothing, as I was telling you during the reaction. I think that that's the most important thing to underline for him here, because you see how mortal everyone is. And no matter the fact that you have lots of power, lots of money, lots of success whatsoever, you are going to become the same as all the others as soon as you're approaching death. And in this episode, we already saw even the desperation that Warwick was feeling, because suddenly he turned into the man who was so desperate that he was running away just to try to save himself and to try to survive. That was pretty sad to watch, because we were expecting to see Warwick always on top of his horse and trying to demand everything that he wanted to reach and whatsoever. But here you understood that Warwick was a simple human being as all the others. As soon as you take from him the power away, then nothing is left. So that was really interesting to see his perspective of things, as much as it was really interesting to see his face when he recognized that George was betraying him. And of course, he was so sure of himself. I mean, even Warwick is an example of a sort of a character that is always too sure about what's going on, what's going to happen, and then he's going to be disillusioned because everything that he was thinking was just nothing. His face was priceless, because we passed from a sure face, like, oh yeah, I know that George is on my side, etc., etc. The second after, you see George going away and reaching his brother, and his face was paralyzed. But then you also see that he always thought about fulfilling what Richard's did, that we discover now that his name was Richard. I mean, I didn't remember that his name was Richard, or maybe I forgot to follow this detail, but This makes sense, and I'm going to tell you later what's going on regarding this. But when we saw that he really wanted to fulfill Richard's dad's goals and he didn't make it. Yeah, actually, he made it at a certain point, but later when he was gaining so much power and he was tricked by it, he totally forgot what his father, what Richard's father told him to do. I think that as soon as human beings are getting in touch with the status, with the power and whatsoever, they automatically lose themselves. And in fact, that's what happened to Warwick. As soon as he preferred or he thought that he could control others because others, they were not expert as him, then he lost his daughters, he lost all the surroundings. He was just focusing on power only without even taking care of the goals that Richard's dad achieved as much as the promises he made it to him. So while he thought that he was proceeding in the right way, the consciousness showed him Richard's dad and tell him that he was making something worse than before, worse than ever. And from that moment on, you realize that his consciousness was totally dirty and he made lots of mistakes. And that moment in particular, it was just a way to redeem himself before dying. That's something pretty religious. And in fact, even in this episode, we saw many religious references about Catholic Church and whatsoever, because, as I was telling you many times, at that time, people were so extremely religious and they thought that everything was guided by God and nobody could change the path that God chose for them. So they just had to accept what was coming. So even in Warwick's case, he thought that it was not too late to redeem himself before dying, and in fact he was swearing to stay under this king. And in fact Edward, the Yorker Edward, you see that he was a great friend of Warwick, and that's why he felt betrayed, because at the end of the day he spent lots of time with him. He thought of him as a mentor, as a teacher, and in fact Warwick was instructing Edward since he was a tiny boy to fight, to counterattack, to defend himself, and that's why he felt even worse when he had to go against him, or when he discovered that he was betrayed by him. I think that Warwick at the end, when he saw, when he could feel Edward next to him, because death was coming to take him away, when Edward was saying, look, I am your king, I am Edward and I am your king, I think Edward in that moment wanted to help Warwick to redeem himself in time in order to rest in peace. And this was so essential at that time, because you know that even kings before dying, they were approached by priests and they could have their confession before dying, and that was a way to reach heaven by resting in peace without any dirty consciousness and stuff like that. So I think that that's what happened to Warwick too. He could rest in peace by being surrounded by that friend that he lost, actually, that means Edward. And Edward was sensitive enough to understand that moment and to be able to do a process like that. I think this story is pretty great also because of this, because thanks to this fiction, you can understand many aspects of that time, especially the religious one. In fact, even Anne, that is Warwick's daughter, she is feeling as if she can't change anything because that's God's will, or the fact that she is superstitious somehow because she saw those black crows flying in the sky that are the typical omen sign that something bad is going to happen or something is going to change. And in fact, she's admitting it. She's saying, look, I think that this war is going to change me deeply. And in fact, yes, because she's going to lose her dad. The good thing it was that she was paying more attention on these feelings she had, rather than maybe thinking that Warwick, that was her dad, imposed her to be where she is right now, and is pretty kind. And at the end of the day, she preferred, as you saw already, to sacrifice herself for the sake of Richard, for the sake of her dad's will, etc., etc. So let's say that she is a pure heart, and that's why she's a pure heart even in this context, when she's feeling that something is going to change her forever, that something, thanks to this war, is changing all the aspects, all the sides, and in fact, we all know that. And by becoming a Lancastrian, because she married the Lancastrian Edward, automatically is going to go against Richard, because Richard wants to kill all the Lancastrians to reach the glory and to fulfill the goal that his or her father wanted. So I think that now things are getting worse and worse and worse. But yeah, I really like the way in which they portrayed this end of this character, because yeah, at the end of the day, you see that when there's wartime, they are all the same, and there is not a good side and a bad side. War is creating this, it's creating a mess, and it's affecting you no matter the sides. So you saw in this episode more than ever that there are all betrayals, they are all the same, they can be called traitors no matter the sides. And this reminds me Shingeki no Kyojin, actually, because even in that story, it's pretty the same, and now more than ever, definitely. I really like by connecting with what I was saying to you right now, I wanted to tell you that I really like the way in which they are portraying war and its consequences. You saw this even when this Lancastrian soldier wanted to escape, but then he was stopped by Harry, and then he was killed by somebody else behind him, and then this other Lancastrian that came noticed that there was a Lancastrian, so he killed one that was supposed to stay on the same side, but this soldier behind the other one was saying, look, my only purpose was to kill, I was told to kill no matter what, etc., etc. So these people, these human beings that are stuck into this war dimension, that is making them become something unbelievably impossible to think. These people who are turned into monsters and vice versa, victims, because that's how war is. You are going to have dirty hands because of what you're doing, and you're just blind because everything you want to do is to kill others and to survive. So once again, there's a personal interest that is more important than the life you have in front of you. That's war. That's a consequence of war. And also because of the fact that you're too blind that you don't even recognize your comrades anymore, because he was having this red flower, but even before asking who are you, etc., etc., he didn't want to check. He thought that killing was the right thing to do. So as you can see, the power of war to destroy, psychologically speaking, people, and to turn them into something they don't want to become, actually, but they are forced to do so because everyone is following the king's orders. But we know that the king of Lancastrians is Harry, and Harry didn't want war. Harry didn't want to support war or to stand by their side during wartime. We understand that if Harry was controlling all this situation, things would have been different, but at that time, Harry preferred to escape from his role, and that's why Warwick was taking his position instead of him, and that was a complete disaster. If I see everything from Harry's point of view, I understand that Harry now feels guilty because it's because of him escaping or going away from all this that he caused these deaths. As much as he feels guilty because by not enrolling the role of the king anymore and by leaving Warwick do everything instead of him, it was like as if he was getting rid of this role, and also because he is also thinking that by stopping this man, he automatically killed that man because the other soldier was coming to kill him. So, as you can see, Henry's life is full of regrets, full of guilty memories, guilty thoughts, and whatsoever. So, I think that Henry's position is pretty hard to handle. And I don't think that he's just fragile. I think that that's not something for him. That's a person who was just forced to be what he didn't want to become. And he thought at the beginning that by becoming a king, he could solve everything, he could have protected even Richard at this point. But this is not going to happen. So everything is a mess. And when that man was saying to Henry, look, you're not the king because your body is not full of blood. You're not involved into this war. How is it possible that you're a king? You're not even suffering. I don't think this is true. I think that just because Henry is not showing everyone outside that he is suffering, that doesn't mean anything. I think that Henry is suffering quite a lot, especially because of his background story and what he was forced to do in order to have a kid, in order to have a son. His path, his life path, is pretty bad, and he suffered a lot. This is just what people think when they are judging others just because of what they see outside. Now, people should be more intelligent to dig inside a person before thinking that one person is not suffering at all. And here I wanted to connect with what the Lancastrian Edward is saying, because every time, especially even in the previous episode, Edward was saying, I'm not like my father, I am a brave man, I'm going to protect this, I'm going to protect that. Yeah, Edward, but you need to know that your father was forced as much as you were forced by Margaret to have a kid, even if he didn't want, as much as you don't want to have a kid with Anne. I think Edward was just following what Margaret was saying. He was brainwashed by her, and that's why he can't understand the situation completely. But I hope that in the future he's going to understand his father more and more, and he's going to understand that what his father wanted to do was something totally fine. Was to go away from war and to find his own peace. Inside a forest or inside somewhere else, it doesn't matter exactly the context. The most important thing is the concept. So I think that Henry would have been a great king actually, but he knew that by becoming a king he had to submit himself to some corrupted situations, and that was not good for him, because even if you were good enough with good purposes, then once you became a king you had to submit yourself to many other corrupted contexts. And even if you had a pure soul with great values, with great morals and whatsoever, at the end of the day you were going to be corrupted no matter what. So that's why Henry preferred to escape, because the context was not something benevolent, no matter how pure he was. Reaching the end of the episode, finally Richard got in touch with the truth, because she didn't know that Henry was the king already. And that was something that she omitted, because nobody told her this. In fact, you know that at that time Richard was going somewhere else while Warwick was proclaiming Henry as a king. So that was the missing piece of the puzzle that Richard couldn't gain until this moment, and the shock was simply amazing. I really liked how this episode finished, because finally they could show themselves both identities. And until this moment they have never asked themselves who you are, why you're like this and whatsoever. Both they were finding their happiness without asking their names, where they were coming from, and this was so essential for you to understand that it doesn't matter where you come from, what's your name, how old are you, and stuff like that. If you can find your place in the world, it doesn't matter anything else. The general info are not essential to create a happy spot or a happy setting for your own mind and soul. That's what happened between Richard and Henry until this moment, because Richard was supposed to kill the king, so he could free Henry, and at the same time Henry wanted to become the king to be able to protect Richard somehow by spreading this concept of no war. So this moment is simply crazy. I think that in episode 11 we're going to see more and more about this too. Can't wait for that. But here you see the disillusion. You see that everything that you really wanted to project, that person is gone based on the status, based on the roles you're enrolling. The tension that I felt while they were introducing themselves, it was like, oh, this is going to become a mess, a total mess. The way in which they are meeting each other once again inside a forest, and the fact that you see how sure Richard was before reaching Harry, because she wanted to fulfill that promise she made it to Harry, but we know that after that promise everything collapsed. I mean, after they promised to meet each other once again in that specific season of the year, etc., etc., I was having a bad feeling already at that time. Do you remember? The reason why I was having a bad feeling is because I imagined that that promise was not about to be fulfilled as much as they wanted, and in fact this happened. Oh, what the F. The disillusion on Richard's eyes and mind, it was like simply stunning. I really like that. And even when Richard was corrupted by these two sides that she has inside her mind, her dad and Jeanne d'Arc, that's pretty interesting because both sides are influencing Richard's mind and decisions. And when she was saying, look, I'm going to find Harry, and Richard's dad said, you have to kill the king. But she didn't know that Harry was the king. So that was so sure that she didn't even imagine that she had to kill him. And on the other side, Jeanne d'Arc was right. I mean, she said, I'm the only one who knows who's the real you. Yeah, because, of course, thanks to Jeanne d'Arc's side, we know that Richard is falling in love with Harry. But now, everything is turning upside down and she has to make a choice. And that's something unbelievable because you all know that when there are two choices and you have to choose just one option, you're going to suffer anyway. So I think that Richard is going to suffer no matter what. But once again, she is making a step forward to understand her feelings, because once she's living this disillusion right now, she's feeling more than ever. She is feeling and proving to herself those feelings once for all. There's no escape from this. Now she has to face all this. And let's see what's going to happen with episode 11. I really liked the last part of this episode. Because from both sides, even when they were saying, who are you? From the beginning till this moment, they were not interested. But right now, we are reaching a point in which the identity makes a difference. Thank you so much for the support, guys. See you next Monday with episode 11 of Baraou no Souretsu, Requiem of the Rose King. In the meantime, feel free to subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell. Bye, guys. See you in the next video.